Hi, it's Anthony here. And wow, it seems like months, and it seems like months because it has been months since the 15th of November when we caught up for that lunch up the top of Eureka. Do you remember near to the beginning of the lunch, I shared a story with you about how I met that Canadian lady, Pam. She was 10 years older than me, and I met her on that bus ride from Sydney to Brisbane. I remember I shared with you, I thought that, I shouldn't talk to her or chat with her because she had a nose ring and she said smoking when they asked her smoking or not smoking, but thankfully, I suspended judgment and landed up sitting next to this woman. And you may remember she asked me a lot of questions about me. And I met her at a time where you may recall things hadn't been going all that well. Parents got divorced when I was 5. Dad remarried a woman who just really wasn't nice to me for 30 years. Daily abuse. Age 15, my mom took her own life. And then I met Pam when I was 18. And remember how I shared with you that Pam, at the end of chatting with me for 12 hours on the bus ride, she said, Anthony, you're on a path right now that is full of confrontation and violence at home and all kinds of other things which are not good. But the good news is that you can actually have a much better life than that. All you have to do is find a different path. All you have to do is choose a different path. And by the way, what are you really capable of? What are you truly capable of? And I remember I didn't understand the full significance of those words when she first asked those questions. But of course now I do, because I shared with you at the lunch that life has gone really well once I chose a different path. And thankfully by now I am surrounded by some amazing people. I have an incredible wife, 2 happy, healthy, funny kids. And you may remember I actually asked you to go and discuss in groups of 2 or 3, who was the Pam in your life? Well, listen to this, an amazing thing has happened. I was looking through Spotify, listening to music. I looked up Tears for Fears, and I saw there was a link which said tour schedule. I clicked on it, and it showed that Tears for Fears are playing in Dublin, in Ireland, on the 2nd of May. I click on the link, and I see it's a double act with Alison Moyet. Now, if you're as old as I am, you probably know who those 2 bands are. And the 2 of them are playing in Dublin. Now, those 2 bands are 2 bands that I listened to the most in the months following my mum's death. So age 15, she took her own life. I basically ran away from home to get away from my stepmom, and I moved into my mum's home, which, when I think about it, was a really unusual thing to do because her house was probably 3 times the size of the one that I live in now. It's a very big house for a 15-year-old kid to go and live in by himself. And in that time, I listened to heaps and heaps of Alison Moyet and Tears for Fears. It was kind of the helicopter ride that, that music allowed me to lift up above the horrible stuff that I was navigating on planet Earth. And I went to my wife when I found the link and I said, wow, could we go and see the band and could we take the kids and make this a family trip? She said, gee, Anthony, I love Tears for Fears, but not that much. Why don't you do it? And I thought, gee, not sure, would I really want to go to a concert far away to Ireland, see a concert by myself? I reached out to a friend in Israel and he said, Anthony, that's my favorite band ever. If you go, count me in. So the 2 of us booked into the concert. I booked my flights through Abu Dhabi to Ireland. I'm pleased to confirm there's 2 more friends now. So there's 4 of us going for this week together, week and a half together in Ireland. And the amazing thing is this. Once I booked the flights and everything, I wrote to Pam on email. Now keep in mind, I haven't seen her for 30 years. I haven't spoken to her since the few weeks before we got married. That's 15 years ago. And we only write an email to each other every 2 or 3 years. I wrote her an email saying, I'm going to Tears for Fears, flying to Dublin. It goes through Abu Dhabi. I remember you once told me that you were going to go and live in the Middle East. Did you land up going to the Middle East? And if yes, where do you live? She writes back on email to tell me, I live in Abu Dhabi. I'll collect you from the airport. And by the way, my daughter is studying on a scholarship in New York. Do you want to stay in our apartment? What are the odds? What are the odds of these things happening? I thought to myself, is this just a big coincidence? And it could be a massive coincidence. But I'm starting to realize that these coincidences are creatable. This synchronicity is something that we can either choose to be part of or choose not to be part of. Which path do you want to be on? Synchronicity or not synchronicity? And if it is synchronicity, one of the amazing things that I've learned from Wayne Dyer is probably one of the biggest names in personal development. He passed away a year or two ago, but one of the books that I'm reading, he speaks so much about generosity and about forgiving people. It's so amazing. He said very few people die of a snake bite. They usually die from carrying the venom around in their body for a very long time. So who do we need to forgive? What venom do we need to let go of so we don't carry it around? And who can we be generous to? Now, I thought about this, and I thought one of the ways that we can be generous as a community is actually focusing on people in the community that potentially we could help with their business. And I've decided to take a small action here. The small action is this. I'm going to pick at least 2 businesses in the community each month that I would like to focus on, and that I'm going to ask the community to focus on, to work out how can we help these people to do more business, to generate more profits, to have more resources available, to spend time with their families, and ideally to make some kind of positive difference in the world. And the 2 businesses that I'd like to put forward for this month, you may remember the guy who did the videography on the day up the top of Eureka. He and his partner, they took videos, they took photos. His name is Aaron Sable. He's actually filming this video right now. And he has an amazing system for helping people not only to generate new leads, but step by step to build trust with those leads using short educational and other videos. He's got a really cool system which he uses in his own business personally. And I know as a long-term marketing strategist that evidence and that having some kind of a pathway from when you meet a prospective client to actually securing them as a client, these are 2 really important things in business. So I'm actually going to ask him to put his own details on the screen so that if that question is interesting for you, you've got a means of accessing him. And the other person that I want to highlight, the other business that I want to highlight, just on this question of generosity, is Rankin & Co. You may remember meeting Roy Rankin. At the lunch we called him Mr. Contracts. You may also remember that he bid for the 4 tickets to the basketball. In fact, once he got to $1,500, he started bidding against himself. 16, 17, 18, he paid $2,000 for 4 tickets to the basketball, and the $2,000 went to Zamil Chowdhury, who's still heading through his 3rd round of chemotherapy. And I'm amazed to confirm that Rob actually asked after Zamil a couple of months later, when I said he still wasn't well, and that we're, a group of friends are getting together and people are contributing anywhere around $20 a week. Rob said $20 a week is $1,000 a year. Is that going to help? I said, yeah, if we all do it, he and his wife will not have to worry about money. Rob just said, okay, count me in. He's never met the guy. He still hasn't met the guy. Think about that kind of generosity. And let's ask ourselves, who can we support? How can we support people in the community to allow cool things like that to happen regularly? It's been amazing to share the update. The next time I see you, I will have been to Ireland and back. We're going to put together another lunch for around the July timeframe. And no doubt I'll be in touch with you before then. Until then, have a great few weeks. And I look forward to being in touch again soon. Bye for now.